right, your phone calls are coming up in this hour. For the full next hour, I'm going to have open phones. I'm going to break down all the major facets of the health care bill. You've got friends and family that want to know what's really in it. We'll go over it step by step and break down every facet of it. But it isn't just the takeover of health care. The government's taking over every facet of our lives and has select big corporate interests behind it who want to vertically integrate the economy. This is a monopoly being formed. As the founder of the Rockefeller clan said, competition is a sin. Before we go back to James Delingpole, author, best-selling author of Welcome to Obamaland, I've seen your future and it doesn't work. He also writes for the Telegraph, the Daily Mail, the Mail on Sunday, the Sunday Times, the Times, and the Independent. And we're very honored to have him. We're going to get into the mindset of these people. When I get up here and tell you that I've been to smart growth conferences a decade ago, and I couldn't believe that they would laugh at me and say, of course we're robbing everybody off camera with all these big bankers and politicians and environmentalists, and that they hate everyone, and they're thieving control freaks who want an excuse to rob you, and they use guilt to control you. This study, along with a lot of other research that's been done, proves, on average, these are a bunch of criminals who get well-meaning people to then let them run their lives. So that's coming up. I want to remind listeners, 2 new trailers are out for 2 new films. I never released 2 films in 1 month. It just so happened that several of these films got behind schedule, so they were both ready in the month of April. They're done. They're being mass-produced. We should get them in next week. You can pre-order the new film by Jason Burmis, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, how this global corporate bureaucratic banking system works. Incredible film. And Police State 4, The Rise of FEMA. I haven't made a police state film since, 2003, so 7.5 years. And this covers the entire police state grid that Homeland Security has really set up for the American people, the actual FEMA camps and the government documents, the UN forces, how they want to use military against the American people. Be the first to get it on DVD. You can pre-order now and get discounts on them at Infowars.com. Okay, James, I sidetracked you into the healthcare, but you are a guinea pig who's been living through this. But it does integrate and dovetail into the overall mindset of these people. In fact, I have articles here where they say lowering our carbon footprint, destroying industry will save the earth, and that we do need to reduce population. And then we have this Canadian prestigious study done. And again, here are the headlines. How going green may make you mean. Ethical consumers less likely to be kind and more likely to steal, massively more likely to steal. So that's the Guardian, who are basically made up of a lot of these people, admitting it. It's not just James Delingpole writing about it, but James has been saying these very things for 4 or 5 years that I've been reading his columns since I've been aware of him. James, how did you know this about them? I guess you had the same experience as I did, but let's find out. And then B, let's get into this study in detail.
Well, I think Alex, it all fits into the bigger picture. I think this rule doesn't just apply to Greens. It applies to libtards, Marxists, do-gooders generally. People of the liberal left generally feel that because they vote for a form of government which involves wealth distribution, which involves government punishing the rich and making rules, they feel that is their moral get out of jail free. I think, conservatives are much more honest about the facts of life. They're much more, they believe much more in personal responsibility. And I think for that, because conservatives believe in personal responsibility, they hold themselves to higher standards of behavior than liberals. Does that gel with your experience?
Absolutely, and I don't even call them liberals. It's a control freak cult who hates everyone and loves to run people's lives.
Yes, absolutely. It's, I think that liberals have or call them what you will, watermelons, Marxists, whatever. They have a very depressing view of human nature, which is that we are all so essentially evil that the only way that we can be coerced into good behavior is for big government to step in and rule our lives. And I think they include themselves. Subconsciously, they think that they think of themselves as these flawed, corrupted people. So they don't feel the need to behave well in the same way that you or I might do. I feel that ultimately I'm going to be judged for my behavior. I expect people to behave well towards me as I behave well towards them. Your Your libtard doesn't care about that because, hey, that's government's job. It's government's job to police behaviour, and if you can get away with it, as in this rather interesting research from Canada, where this experiment was done on all these students, and they divided them into various control groups, and they discovered that where are we? Let's see. It says. Later, in an honour system in which participants were asked to take money from an envelope to pay themselves their spoils, the Greens were 6 times more likely to steal than the conventionals. Now, this is a psychological experiment, but I think we all know where it's coming from. It's borne out by our daily lives, is it not?
Well, it is, but expanding on that, I think it's even worse. Talking to these people, they see themselves as powerless scum who never have any future, who are very envious and hateful, whereas a more libertarian or classical conservative has a high view of themselves and enjoys life and likes seeing others do well. I mean, that's how I am. I never thought of myself as some special good guy. This was just who I was and my parents and my culture.
We spend our whole time being eaten up with envy about other people doing well because we think, well, that's how the system works. Some people do better than others, and normally it's through...
Exactly. It's an envy-based thing, so they feel that they get power through the state. They feel like that it's their state, their government. It's an extension of them. They're living vicariously through Stalin or through Obama or through Mao.
That's totally true. And I would say the very worst, the lowest of all vermin, I'm afraid to say, are the watermelons, the Marxists who've essentially moved into the green movement and co-opted it for their own ends. Because I see, I spend a lot of time arguing with these people. And what strikes me about the majority of dark green, eco-fascists that I have met, is that they really do not care about nature and they loathe mankind. They are not in it to save the world. They are in it to punish the human species for their outrageous cheek in existing on the planet. They think we are a blot on the landscape. They want population controls. They want to carpet the countryside with wind farms. They want the government to regulate. And they are quite happy for the global economy to be bombed back to the dark ages in the name of saving the planet. But they don't want to save the planet. They want to destroy the world, in fact.
Well, absolutely. It's not just Maurice Strong. It's Pachari, it's the UN, it's the Biological Diversity Assessment 96.
Let's not forget the WWF, who are very much part of this.
Yeah, let's talk about the Nazi founder of that, Prince Bernhard, who then got caught using World Wildlife Fund cover in ivory sales. Again, most of them don't consciously know this is a fraud. They consciously know that it's a eugenics movement.
Well, it's riddled with it. And of course, Maurice Strong I think is closely associated with the World Wildlife Fund. And you think about it. When I was growing up in the 1970s, I was very familiar with that cute little panda, the panda motif. I think every child in the world is brought up to think of the World Wildlife Fund as this caring, sharing organization which has nothing more than the world's best interests at heart. This is an organization whose income is currently what? It's about, I'd say, about 300, no, more than that. It must be about 400 million pounds a year. So what's that? That's about $550 million a year.
More than that. It's about 650.
Okay, so the World Wildlife Fund makes $600 million a year. That's its income. And there was a story, I don't know whether you caught in the British press the weekend.
There's nothing cuddly about the WWF.
No, they have bought up swathes of the Amazonian rainforest. And they reckon that if the carbon trading gets enforced by governments, if carbon regulation gets railroaded through by the likes of Obama, then the World Wildlife Fund stands to make $60 billion. $60 billion. Now, how scary is that? This unelected organization over whom voters have no control whatsoever, with a Marxist agenda in control of that kind of...
Well, let me expand on that. I keep going back to where I live and my front row seat to this. Growing up, in Austin since high school, every week, bang, bang, bang on the door, young environmentalist, gouging and shaming my mother into giving them money for SOS, Save Our Springs. Has nothing to do with Bull Creek and a spring-fed pool called Barton Springs. And the city of Austin stole more than 20,000 acres from citizens, paid them pennies on the dollar, and then all the local green leadership literally did deals to basically sell at reduced prices or give themselves the land. They own their own banks, and they're making hundreds of millions of dollars a year in the West Austin area where they stole all this land, and now it's hotels and million-dollar homes. And, I mean, they are conscious thieves, and they know it. I mean, this is just, look, there's nothing even green or liberal about them. It is a cloak for their authoritarian tyranny. This is a wrecking crew of hardcore criminals.
Well,